Hey everyone, it's Chef Nick Peters-Bond here with Commanding Your Kitchen. Today on this episode, we're going to be making something that's literally all over social media. That is the Elusive charcuterie board, cheese board, grazing board, however you want to call it. We're going to be diving into that today with the how-to and what cheeses to pick, what meats to pick, and how you're going to choose your edible accents and garnish, things like that. But first up, we're going to be making a charcuterie jam. This jam is a recipe that I came up with because I felt like there was a need for an all-purpose mixed fruit jam that paired well with tons of different cheeses and meats and scones, and basically a jam that you can go to for anytime you're making something like this that you're like, you know, I need something else. I need a jam that will pair well with a lot of different cheeses, and this will be it. So today what I have is I have some black mission figs. These are dried. You can get fresh figs as well if you can find them at your local grocery store or a specialty market. I also have some pears and some grapes. Ideally, you could use a Concord grape or a muscadet grape. Today I have red table grapes, which are perfectly fine. These are seedless. And then I also have some lemon and some orange, and that citrus will really just tie everything together. The only other ingredients I'll be adding is sugar and then a couple spices. Today I'm going to be using some allspice and some cardamom. I think it's just cardamom gives a nice warm flavor that you really can't pinpoint what it is, but it'll just really pair nicely with everything. So without further ado, let's get started. So for this recipe, I will leave all of the ingredient amounts on my Patreon. Patreon's a new thing to me, so I'm just going to start a Patreon, and basically what I'm going to have on there for you is a step-by-step guide on a DIY how-to charcuterie lesson for everyone at home. It will be on my Patreon. It will have what meat and cheeses to get, basically everything that we go over in this video, it will be on there for you, so you can have like a shopping list and things like that. So first up, we're going to get working. So what I've just been doing is cutting up some pears. So basically I had about 5 or 6 pears just diced up with the skins on. The skins will help with some of that pectin that you're looking for since we aren't using pectin in this recipe. This is more of a refrigerator jam. What that means is that it's not going to be boiled into glass jars. It will just be simply stored in an airtight container and put to the fridge. And later on in this video, you will see me doing a cheese board using this exact jam that we're making, as well as in a week, my catering company, Kitchen to Aisle Catering Events, will be doing a brunch grazing board as well as selling this jam. So stay tuned for that. But for today, we're just going to be doing a cheese board. And I see cheese boards, charcuterie boards everywhere right now. Basically, they could be on a dessert menu, they could be on an appetizer menu. Charcuterie boards are often very hip, especially right now. I think that anything can basically be made into a board or a bar. Bars were very popular as well a couple years ago. My catering company did lots of bars, mashed potato bars, pasta bar, anything that has to do with like a do-it-yourself kind of situation or choose your adventure with food, people seem to really like, as well as myself. So today, the jam that we're making is, like I said, an all-purpose jam, and it's something that I really wanted to develop for this specific purpose. You know, when you're going out to the grocery store and you see all these different types of cheeses and meats, and it can be very daunting when it comes to what to pair well with that, different than every other jam on the market. I'm using 3 different types of fruit, like I said. I have red table grapes. Ideally, you could use something like a muscadet grape or a Concord grape, and those you can probably find at a little bit of like a higher end grocery store or when they're in season. Today I'm just using dried black mission figs. You're going to want to make sure you take off the little stems from them because they are really hard and not pleasant to the palate. So I'm going to be taking these off, and then I'm going to be adding in my orange zest, orange juice, and then some lemon juice as well. And that acidity will really just help cut through some of the richness and sweetness of the figs, as well as really help with that jam-like consistency that we're looking for. What I love about a jelly or a jam or a chutney or anything like that, which maybe I'll dive into each one of those a little bit later in a video where I make or show you the difference between each one, if you're interested in that. Because I do get questions about that kind of thing too, like what do I pair with a cheese board? Does it matter if it's a jam or a chutney or a jelly? It really just depends on your taste buds. However, I do think certain things pair up better with fruits than other things. You'll see later in the video I will be pairing lots of different stuff on this cheese board, sweet and savory. It really just helps visually with the board itself. Okay, I'm throwing figs. So I'm basically putting literally everything, and I keep putting the stems in there. I'm not sure why, we'll make it. If that happens, I do have a strainer. If you do have a seed or something like that, don't worry about it. It will be fine. We'll all survive together. Okay. And I think people have this misconception that cheese boards can be daunting, and I understand that it seems like a lot going on, which it is. But if you really think about each element or each ingredient and you really make it bountiful and make it look really full, I think you'll be really successful. And so I will, catering company, Kitchen to Aisle Catering Events, we are doing holiday menus right now. Because of COVID happened, we've basically been stuck. We haven't had any events been booking. A lot of our events for the summer have had to postpone until next year. So that really okay, Nick, I could speak. That kind of puts a hold on our business, really. So when you think about it, all of our events that we'd be getting thousands of dollars from, we don't have right now. So I came up with the idea of curbside. I saw a lot of other restaurants being like, let's just do takeout. I'm like, well, we're a catering company. What could we do that is a little bit different? So we've been basically offering almost like restaurant quality or restaurant quality food or catering quality food through curbside. So people have been picking up orders at our catering rental kitchen, which I'm in right now, which is Kitchen Local. I'm from Massachusetts, so right now we're in Amesbury, Massachusetts, but I digress. So I'm gonna finish up here, doing this tedious task of picking the little stems off the figs. It's worth it because you don't want those hard chunks of fig stems in there. And then I will zest and juice my citrus, and then I'll add in my sugar, and I'll show you what it looks like once it starts cooking down. All right, so I wanted to show everyone the final product of the jam. So basically this had the pears, the sugar, it had figs, orange, lemon, a little bit of cardamom and allspice, and that just cooked down. And then you can see it because it's really nice consistency, which is perfect for our cheese board. So I'm gonna set this aside, and then we'll get going on building the board. So I have kind of everything mapped out here of what I would typically put on a cheese board, but there's so many different variations of things that you can add, take off. If you don't like olives, you don't have to use them. If you don't like grapes, use a different kind of fruit. This is just kind of where I go, the general area I go to when I'm making a cheese board or a charcuterie board. So we're gonna talk a little bit about edible accents, texture, things like that. The first thing that I wanna do is I like to map out my board. So I take out the biggest things that I'm gonna be using, which in this case are pieces of cheese. So for this board, I kept it's a half log of goat cheese, and then I cut a wheel of brie up. I think cutting the brie up just gives a little bit of not textural difference. I think cutting the brie up just kind of gives it a little more visual appeal than just leaving it whole. And then I did take a piece of blue cheese and cut that in half. You can also crumble some of this on the board as well if you wanted to, you don't have to. And then I liked having a sliced element. So for the sliced element, I have sliced sharp cheddar cheese. I always try to have at least one soft, semi-soft, and one that's a little more semi-hard. And you can also use a hard cheese as well in this with like a Parmesan or an Asiago. You don't have to. Really, a cheese board is really what you like. I just like to provide different textural differences for a crowd, because not everyone's gonna like all the same cheeses you like, so kind of like to switch it up a little bit. So I'm kind of just haphazardly putting this down, making it look pretty, mapping out where I want the cheese to go, and then you go in with the bigger elements. So I should say the next big elements, which would be your fresh fruit, and then your little jars or mason jars of things that you want to use. So I'm going with some green grapes. You could use red grapes, it really doesn't matter. Again, for me, this is more about playing around with it until you get the exact way that you want the board to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be so calculated and mapped out. The only thing you do want to map out in this process is your cheese. Put those things down first, and then you fill in creatively how you want it to go. So here I have 2 little wooden bowls. You don't have to use bowls, you can use little mason jars. You can put it directly on the cheese, whatever you like. So I'm gonna go in and fill in with one of these bowls. That for this size board, I would just do one of these. And I'm just moving the cheese over, kind of figuring out which direction I want to go in. Because just because you put something down doesn't mean you have to, you're not tied into it. It doesn't really matter until the final product. So in there, I'm gonna put our jam that we made. All right, so I'm just gonna take the jam that we made earlier, and obviously this is a ton. You can either can this, put this into a refrigerator. This is gonna be a refrigerator or a freezer jam, so it doesn't have to be canned or boiled and all that kind of thing. So you're just gonna put some of this jam in here. If you really loved it, you could put it directly onto one of your cheeses that complements it. In this case, I would say the brie or the blue cheese, but whatever you like. And I'm gonna take a little wooden spoon. It's just really cute. Having little utensils, toothpicks, things like that really adds to the board. So I'll leave that in there. And then now after you have your mapped out cheese, your fresh fruit, we're gonna go in with the rest of our fruit in edible accents, and I'll talk a little bit about texture. I really like to place things on a charcuterie board that go well together, and I always end up tweaking the board 10 times before it's done. I just like to kind of get it there, and then I'll show you how to go back and kind of tweak things. I don't necessarily like to group the same things always together. I kind of like to break it up, so that also helps with color. And so the only unedible garnish we're using today is some herbs. In this case, I have some thyme. You could use rosemary, you could use sage, fresh herbs, fresh flowers, whatever you like. I try to limit those to only a few sprigs because they are not edible. So I also have some dried fruit. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking to about texture. Fresh fruit and dried fruit have two different textures. So you really want to make it interesting for your guests or whoever you're serving this board to. So I kind of just fill in now with our dried fruit. And I also have some dried cranberries. Again, these aren't things that you have to use. You know, you could use some candied nuts. You could use other fresh fruit. If you don't like dried fruit, don't use it. So if people don't like nuts or there's a nut allergy or something like that, I do like to add some neutral flavored granola as a crunch element, and this really goes really well with the goat cheese. So I'm gonna put this near or around the goat cheese. You could even roll the goat cheese in some pulverized granola if you wanted to drizzle it with some honey, or you could roll it in sesame seeds. Anything that really kind of just takes it over the top and just makes it a little bit different, I think is really nice. And you don't wanna go crazy with the garnishes. It's more just to enhance your board, not distract. Okay, so I like to add a couple of savory elements to the board as well, especially when some of the cheeses lend a little more sweet. Some of the cheeses go well with some things that are a little more savory. So I do have some olives. You could put them in a little container if you wanted to. These are just marinated jarred olives. You can get specialty olives from like your grocery store. You wanted ones that are not pitted. You also could do that. Like these ones are from Trader Joe's. You could get an olive that still has a pit in it. Depends on who you're serving. Some people don't love that. But if you did do something like this, I would suggest having like a cute little toothpick or something like that for guests to pick them up with so they're not using their hands. So I'll throw a couple of these in there, and then I will put just a couple of toothpicks in there. And these are cute little gold ones. You don't have to do something like this, but you could if you wanted to. So we'll do 3 of those, just kind of poke them in there so guests can help themselves. And that can even go on the side or it can go on the board. So I'll kind of show you the finished product when we're done. So some people don't like mustard, some people do. It really is totally up to you. I think having more than one spread or dip is important on a cheese board. So I will put some on the board as well. Let me flip this towards the camera so you can see. So as you can see, I kind of kept the crackers separate. You could fill in with your crackers if you had a smaller cheese board like this, where you were serving not a huge crowd. And I like to sometimes just fill in crackers, and things like this are a real great way to use as fillers because it helps get rid of the extra board that you don't want showing. Or if you like the negative space it gives, you can leave it as well. This is just to show you that what you could do with these. These are texturally interesting crackers. They have different kinds of seeds and dried fruit in them, which is why I like to use those. Or you can leave them on the side, throw some grilled bread in there, all depends on your preference. So cheese knives, sometimes people get really into cheese knives, some people don't. I don't think you need to go crazy. These are just little mini knives that you can use. Some people like to use the appropriate knife for the appropriate cheese. And I will link like my Patreon, like I said before. I'll have a whole DIY guide on charcuterie boards, cheese boards, any grazing boards, all that kind of stuff that you see right now. So I'm just gonna stick one of these on there, maybe another one by the brie, kind of let the guests do their own thing. Okay, so we'll put some of this mustard on here. You could get fancy and do like a drop and drag with a spoon. You could just put it on here. We'll do a little drop and drag in the corner. It just makes it look pretty. And that's it. Literally take some mustard on the back of a spoon and swoosh it on your plate. People think it's like the fanciest thing. It really is not. And then you can go ahead and fill back in around that. So let me tack another piece of cheese in there, kind of have that on the board. And then if you were like I am right now, if you think, you know what, I think I want more on the board, I need to fill in, then take some of the olives or extra stuff that you have and then go back in. So I'll probably put some olives on here, closer to the savory element of the mustard. Just a few. Even in things that are in odd numbers always look better. So I always tell people to do things in threes. It just looks nicer. So I'll take a few of these olives and I'll kind of tuck them in, just kind of haphazardly, just be organic. It doesn't have to be so serious. So I'll put some of these over here. And it really just, as you can see, it kind of just fills in the spots that you didn't. If you wanted to then put these back on, you could. If you want to just leave them there, you could do whatever you wanted. If you wanted some extra olives on the side, great, go for it. It really is up to you what you want to put on it and what you want to put on the side. I do like to have extra crackers on the side because I feel like there's never enough crackers on a charcuterie board because I just love carbs and crackers, and I feel like I always want more crackers, so I always have something extra on the side. I do like to keep some more plain crackers and also some that are a little more fun, like these ones that have a nut or fruit in them, but you don't have to. Literally, you could use them as crackers if you wanted to. I just like to keep it interesting with flavors. Okay, so the last thing now you want to do is where your non-functional or non-edible garnish. This is controversial. Some people don't like to do it. I think for something like this, it's okay. For a dish you're making for your family or a guest, if you're in a restaurant or you're catering, I don't put whole sprigs of thyme onto someone's dish. But for something like this, that's more of a filler and it's not going to be eaten and not, it's more like obvious that it's not supposed to be eaten, I do like to fill them with herbs. Again, rosemary, thyme is great. These things also smell great, so when you put them on the board, it's going to smell nice, perfume the air. So again, I like to not be so strategic, but don't have it just be plopped on top. That's kind of like the lesson here, is you want it to look natural and organic without it looking so mapped out, if that makes sense. So I did one little bundle there. I might do two more. Like I said, things in threes to me, and in general, when that's like with plating in a restaurant, it always looks nicer. So pick things up and just tuck it in. As you can see, it just kind of adds a nice color element as well as fills in your board. So I'll add one more little cluster in here. And then I'll also be inserting pictures of other charcuterie and cheese boards that I've done in the past, so you can get an idea of not just this one, so don't feel like you have to be so stuck to this, which looks great, but if I do say so myself, but you can look at some other examples I have. And so I just do it all over the board, so you can see every angle is filled in, so you're not sitting there. It's not like a Christmas tree, you have like the front's beautiful and the back looks like crap. You really want to make sure it's like a 360 kind of moment. So that's it. If you then say, you know what, I want to go with more granola or more fruit, or you know what, I think it needs more mustard, go for it, add it in there. You could even tuck in some more on the sides. This is just an example of something that like we do for my catering company, and I wanted to show everyone how easy it is to make an organic looking nice charcuterie board or cheese board without stressing out about it. It should just be more fun putting things that you like together. Jam that goes out with a bunch of different cheeses, like this fig, pear, and grape jam. You don't have to use that, but it does kind of universally taste good with everything. And like I said, have fun with it. Roll your goat cheese in something else. Sesame seeds, nuts, sunflower seeds, something like that. You could even take some sunflower seeds. I have some that are been roasted. These are like pepitas, so it's unhulled, and they've been roasted in salt. You could take some of these, because some people have nut allergies. If you want to avoid nuts, you can even throw some on top of your jam as like a little garnish and then move them somewhere else. So maybe you want some on top of your goat cheese. Great, throw it on there. It really is all about just filling in the space and making something look natural but still look beautiful. So that's it. I hope this helps people at home feel more confident making your charcuterie or cheese board. Please still buy them from my catering company, but I hope this makes it seem like, you know what, sometimes if you want to have some people over your house, this is a great appetizer for like a game night, having family over, people can pick at this, and something like this will serve up to 4 people, if not a little more. You know, you have your goat cheese, like I said, something soft, semi-soft, a little bit harder of a cheese, something for everyone. And let me know if you decide to make this. Comment down below, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like videos like this. Maybe next time I'll do a charcuterie board with more meats and more antipasto and things like that. So let me know if you enjoyed seeing this kind of vibe, and don't forget to press the notification bell, and don't forget to like this video, and I will link down all my other social media down below, and I will link down the Patreon where you can find my DIY guide a little more mapped out deliberately so you can make this at home. I hope you enjoyed this video, and take care.